Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to another webinar from us here at BUI. My name is Justin Collin. I head up the business development for our SecOps team here at BUI. Just a couple of our products that make up our SecOps team is the BUI CyberSOC. We offer penetration testing, and of course, the reason why you're here today is Nettprotect, which is our own vulnerability assessment and management service. Today, I have Calvin Kennedy with me on the webinar. Calvin's a member in our SecOps team and is responsible for the Nettprotect service. Now, before we begin, we've scheduled a 30-minute webinar for today. So should you require any other further information, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Calvin. We also have a Q&A or a chat section on the right-hand side of your screen. Please make use of that should you want to ask any questions. And we also have a fantastic speaker giveaway today. So just by you being here has brought you one step closer to winning that speaker. So pay attention. The answer is hidden in the presentation, and I'll be asking the question towards the end of this webinar. So without further ado, let's move on to the agenda for the next 30 minutes. So on the agenda today, I'll be taking you through a quick overview of who BUI is, a quick little overview of what we do, what we specialize in. We'll move on to Calvin Kennedy, who will present the Nettprotect solution to you, and we'll have the closing after that with the speaker question included. So without any further delay, BUI, who is BUI? So let me take a few minutes just to talk you through who BUI is and what exactly is it that we do. The company was founded in 2000 in Johannesburg, and we specialize in IT professional services around the Microsoft and Cisco platforms. In 2014, we went national within South Africa. We opened offices in the Western Cape and KZN. So we now have a national presence, and we have a performance-based culture within the business. In 2015, we became a part of the First Technologies Group, and by now we are operating in multiple sectors, and we've got customers all over the African continent. And in 2020, after almost 4 years of planning and preparation, we launched the CyberSOC, and we've been the Microsoft #1 Cloud Partner of the Year for 6 years running. And I'm quite proud to say that in July 2020, we were awarded the Microsoft Partner of the Year for 2020. So a little bit more detail with regards to our 4 main operating divisions in the business. The first division is our cloud division. The capabilities include virtualization, private cloud, Azure, Office 365, and of course the Microsoft's enterprise mobility. The second is an ISV. We're an independent software vendor. So we offer these on-premise to the cloud, and we deliver on technology investments encompassing all aspects of modern data centers. The third is security. BUI was the first Microsoft partner in South Africa to hold a Microsoft Gold competency for identity and security. We take security very seriously, and we launched our SOC early this year, and this has brought us closer to revamping our Nettprotect vulnerability service for you as the customer. And finally, on the fourth is our managed services. So our managed services include, cloud adoption to manage infrastructure, operations, and monitoring and support. That was a quick overview around BUI and who we are. I'm going to be handing over to Calvin Kennedy now. Calvin will take you through the Nettprotect solution, and I'll join you towards the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. Enjoy it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Calvin Kennedy, and I am a consultant at BUI working within the SecOps division, which manages and is related to all different factors around security in a digital landscape, which we find ourselves all conducting our lives in nowadays. Whether it be in a personal capacity or in a professional capacity, most of the context of what we will be discussing today is relevant across all that scope. So essentially, one of the biggest issues we have nowadays is the adoption of a security-oriented framework across, the multiple faculties that we conduct, especially in the professional context. So a lot of the times prior, a lot of service delivery professionals and entities and corporations and such had the mindset of, if we ignore it, maybe it will go away. Maybe it will fix itself over time, or maybe a product vendor will worry about it and deploy a patch or a hot fix or whatever it is. And unfortunately, because of the changing of the times in that digital context, we can't really adopt that framework anymore. That mentality is counterintuitive to the best interests across everything in life, especially pertaining to professional services. So what we're here to talk about today is something called Nettprotect, one of the business divisions within the SOC at BUI. And essentially what that is it's a vulnerability assessment service managed as a service, so VSAS. So much of the times as the adoption of cloud technologies takes place, vulnerability assessment is one of those segregated technology landscapes that is evolving as well. And of course, you can go out and you can buy yourself a professional licensed scanner, conduct your own little scans, etc., produce a little report, an Excel spreadsheet with thousands of line items, essentially just telling you something's wrong. It's red everywhere. Where do we start? We're at risk. Always assume breach. That's the mentality that we want to adopt nowadays, and try and work our way through remediation step by step. So what Nettprotect does and what BUI allows is, rather than it being a managed service, or rather a limited managed service in that capacity conducted by entities by themselves, we've gone and put it all together along with the rest of the technology stack from a security context in terms of the services we offer, and we essentially do all of that for you. So vulnerability assessments are mandatory exercises nowadays in an ever-evolving digital landscape. You can't secure what you can't see or what you don't know. So the basic gist of it is that Nettprotect allows you to do a full vulnerability assessment, whether it's credentialed, uncredentialed, internal, external, web applications, cloud security, infrastructure, on-prem security, endpoint security, DevOps, IoT, compliance, all those fancy words is essentially managed by BUI for you across the entirety of your technology landscape. So what Nettprotect offers as a service is vulnerability scanning across any IP-connected assets, regardless of how large your network or your infrastructure could potentially be, regardless of geographical location, networking segmentation. We can look at the entirety of your WAN and manage it all from one central platform in the cloud. It gives you a good good understanding of your security posture across all those assets, critical flow alerts. We can email reports on a daily or weekly basis, monthly basis. We can meet all your business requirements from that sense. All network environments, it's technology agnostic. We can offer Power BI reporting and custom dashboards for each client's particular wants or needs pertain to their environment. It's a from the ground up modeled, tailored product that we can build for you. So I think, Mr. Hundred, if you could just jump to the next slide for me, please. So one of the things that we've been working on is the adoption or the implementation of a revised edition of Nettprotect. So essentially what this is to an extent, this is Nettprotect Mach 2, built on superior technologies. As you know, everything is always evolving. We've taken more of a cloud-based approach. Our infrastructure requirements are very limited in the sense that we no longer need to configure firewalls and inbound policies and netting or anything like that. The deployment for Nettprotect to conduct these vulnerability assessments can be done in 20 to 30 minutes. It's very, very quick and easy. There is integration into our SIEM, which is built around Microsoft Azure Sentinel, which is one of the primary divisions of the SOC division, or the SecOps division at BUI, and it integrates fully with Nettprotect. We can ingest all of your information from a vulnerability spectrum perspective in real time, and we can configure analytics to let us know whenever something goes wrong or something new is detected, a zero-day vulnerability, etc., we can monitor that in real time. As I mentioned before, unlimited IP scans. This is one of the biggest break-the-bank factors around most corporations nowadays when they need to conduct vulnerability assessments. We have no limit. Whether it's a /24 or a /16, we can ingest all of that and we can scan across all of that. Again, so new reporting templates. So we can custom build our own templates which pertain to the most relevant information for your environment. And they're very easy and simple to use. All of our consultants are qualified and they can assist with deploying a roadmap and a consultant in the sense of what remediation steps can be taken in order to bring down that vulnerability matrix. So again, it's technology agnostic. It supports Windows, Linux, Mac clients, whether that be through the adoption, depending on what kind of scanning process or platform you choose. There could be incredibly massive WANs, looking from one centralized scanner that we can use to scan across your environment and essentially digest all that information and push it into our tenants in the cloud, or whether they be certain individuals around the world who are not necessarily, they're not on your domain, they're not a part of the same WAN, there's no network connectivity, the segmentation isn't ideal. We can deploy agents, standalone agents onto these endpoint devices and monitor them just like they were at head office. It's the same across cloud platforms, GCP, AWS, Azure, all of it. It's supported across all of those platforms. And the cloud engine allows us to scale millions of clients and billions of IPs, theoretically. Now, we won't necessarily want to scan billions of IPs because that could be conducive to some problematic network connectivity across the globe. But, we can do it if we ever wanted to DDoS the world, that we've got the power. So from a BUI perspective and in the context of a vulnerability scanning as a service, what we offer is managed services. So as I previously mentioned, we will deploy everything for you, manage everything for you, conduct the vulnerability assessments, compile the reports, put them into easy readly formats, whether it's for a technical audience or for an executive audience, we can cater to all of that. Our qualified security consultants across multiple different security faculties or different technology stacks can assist with remediation across the board, end to end. So that's the managed services side of it. Advisory services, again, fall under the remediation sense that if there's something wrong, we know how to fix it, we can tell you how to fix it, and we put that into an easily presentable format. Real world risk. So again, Nettprotect is a leading class vulnerability assessment engine. It is maintained entirely by us. It is up to date in terms of CVEs, QIDs, anything that's happening around the world in a technological perspective, we know. We know what the issue is and we know how to fix it. And BUI is the security partner you can trust. As Justin previously mentioned, there are accolades on top of accolades across multiple different technology stacks, once again, whether it be Palo Alto or Cisco or Azure or AWS, BUI has the right individuals to consult on those technology stacks, and we've got the awards to show for it. Okay, so I did miss the poll question, the first one, because I was getting a bit passionate about some of the things that I was talking about. So poll question number 2, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the poll question within your webinar page. And yeah, feel free to just hash them out in your own time. So dashboard reporting. So the reporting from a vulnerability perspective, again, it's because it's so interconnected across multiple technology stacks. I love saying that word. we can customize the dashboard reporting for you, make it more relevant to what it is you want to know, and in the same sense, what we think is best to be abreast of in terms of what's going on around the world, what 0 days do we need to worry about, what type of remediation steps need to be taken place in order to better secure your environment from a vulnerability sense. And this also ties into the rest of our SOC services, the SOC offering that we have. We can integrate it again. Once again, Nettprotect integrates with this Azure Sentinel. So we can customize dashboard reporting in that sense. We've got our dedicated Power BI reporting team, some SQL gurus who can build things from scratch and make it look lovely and pretty and do all the jazz that they do. And yeah, it's really robust. The entire technology stack is really, really robust. We prioritize all of that stuff for you so that we can better deliver a better sense of remediation steps and processes that need to be taken. Whether that be just from, there's never a incorrect time to do a vulnerability assessment of your environment. There's never this is the right time or the wrong time. It's always relevant. It will always be relevant moving forward. And whether your requirements are based around stringent security policies that you maintain, whether it's your executive management breathing down your neck telling you that we need to know what's going on with our environment, different banking sectors where you have compliancy requirements or audit requirements in order to conduct them, we can cater towards all of those requirements. We can fix the issue of poor visibility into your environment and give you the entirety of that spectrum on paper. And at BUR, there's no shortage of cybersecurity skills. So just an example of what some of these Sentinel dashboards look like when we integrate the vulnerability assessment engine into Sentinel itself. These are just some mock-ups that we've put together and some of the built-in supported infrastructure that Microsoft has built from the ground up, as well as some of the examples that our internal team have put together to show you the capabilities of what we can do from a managed services perspective in real time that paints a pretty picture. So I just see one of the questions there is, does Nettprotect look at mobile devices connecting to the network? So yes. So we can look at mobile devices. Again, because of moving forward into the cloud space and the adoption of a technology agnostic approach, we've got no limitations in that sense. Whether it's standalone devices or whether they're part of a large corporate domain or network, we can cover all of those assets. So here's just another example of what the dashboards could look like when we build them into the scene. Another question I see there on the right is, what's the difference between a vulnerability scan and a pen test? So a pen test that's the exciting stuff. That's where one of our consultants will come out and they will think outside of the box around whatever security requirements or auditing requirements you might need. They will try and get in, through all sorts of different security flaws or doorways, red team exercises, all of that stuff. Pen tests are, to an extent, they are literally what you see in those big Hollywood blockbusters where they dictate or where they show you people wearing hoodies with anonymous masks and all that type of stuff. That's blown out of proportion most of the time. But a pen test is essentially how can we compromise your environment in ways that you didn't possibly comprehend or you didn't think was an issue prior to us coming on site or even off site. A vulnerability assessment doesn't necessarily always have this black box approach where we're not going to try and guess what it is that the issue is and try and see if we can leverage those particular vulnerabilities to get in. A vulnerability assessment is going to be, it's more of a proactive approach and wholly inclusive approach when looking at your environment. And it's going to say, this is everything we found and this is everything that's wrong with it. Whereas a pen test doesn't necessarily do that. It requires human interaction or human knowledge or an experience in order to leverage certain security flaws. So think of a vulnerability assessment is almost always conducted by individuals doing a pen test to give them better visibility into your environment. To see, okay, you have this particular endpoint on your network. I know that this is a particular vulnerability that I can utilize in order to compromise that machine and get into the network. So a vulnerability assessment is just a better, wholly conclusive summary from a security perspective as to what the current posture looks like. Then there's another poll question that you can see there, 100 just went through. You can scroll down and answer in your own time. So just one more of the examples. It's not the brightest example in terms of the dashboards that we can build up from the ground up. But essentially what this does is it'll show you newly detected vulnerabilities, whether they conform to zero-day attacks or they've never been observed before on a particular endpoint or asset within your environment. It gives us that better visibility across multiple different perspectives, whether it's purely from the Nettprotect engine or whether it's from Sentinel side or Splunk side, whatever it is, that integration and that added visibility is there. So here's an example of one of the custom Power BI dashboards that some of my colleagues have put together. It is essentially what will eventually happen is that every client will have access to their own portal where they will be able to hop on, and it's all secure. It's all safely secured behind next-gen firewalls, highly redundant network-based storage solutions with IPS and IDS all in front of it. So you never have to worry about the confidentiality of that information itself pertaining to your environment. And from our custom dashboards and from our own portals that we will be managing, you will be able to results are from a Nettprotect perspective. You will be able to launch your scans, your vulnerability assessments, configure them in accordance to whatever templatized needs or scans that you need to take place, whether they be credentialed, uncredentialed, PCI, ISO, whatever those compliance requirements are, they're supported within Nettprotect. And yeah, just to touch on what I've discussed so far. So looking at our solutions, which definitely are not solely isolated to this particular slide. We could do a presentation on our solutions for hours on end. We look at compliance. So moving forward, one of the biggest requirements for most individuals, it's starting to reach a personal capacity. When you look at stuff like PAPIA requirements or GDPR, whatever those compliance requirements are, we are aware of them on our day-to-day, in the way we conduct ourselves as a business and as individuals. Asset identification and assessment. So whatever those assets or endpoints might be, we can do full analysis of them, give you an indication as to how compromised they could potentially be, and even essentially eventually reach a stage from an MSSP perspective to remediate them within the Nettprotect engine itself, where we will be able to offer patching. We can literally just patch and solve critical vulnerabilities and security flaws from the click of a button. Advanced analytics. So this also ties into, from our managed services perspective, across the board, regardless of the technology we utilize, we're better able to aggregate data and analytics to better present them, to give you a clearer picture of the entirety of your vulnerability spectrum. Alerting and proactive notifications. Again, that ties in across multiple technology stacks. We are able to provide immediate real-time action from a notification or alerting perspective, even down to the human factor, where our individuals, our consultants will pick up the phone and say, hey, Bob, something's wrong. I know how to fix it. We need to discuss this now. Reporting. We've got very robust and in-depth reporting across multiple templates, and again, multiple different integrations from the Nettprotect platform. And they're very easy to read. Again, whether it's you want a full technical analysis of everything that occurred or could potentially occur within your environment, or if you just want an executive summary with pretty pictures, a sad face or a happy face that you can show to management and say, something's wrong. We need BUI's help. And then threat timelines. Again, so just in terms of aggregation across multiple different stacks of technology, we're able to better correlate entities, whether from a SOC perspective or just from a vulnerability perspective, in order to better produce results as to what type of particular actions have taken place or could potentially take place given everything taken into consideration from our security services offered. So one of the questions I see that you have to install an agent. So depending on the deployment platform or so the option that you want to go for, it could be, we could leverage an agent on an endpoint, or we could just utilize one scanner. So the deployment of one virtual appliance within your network, which will, through just, depending on the segmentation or the, your VLANs, your networks, your password, your firewall policies, etc., that scanner will have full reign, whether it's credentialed or uncredentialed across your network. It will scan everything, push it back into the cloud, and give us some visibility as to what the environment looks like. So we can go with an agent, or we can go agentless, either or, whatever's best for your business requirements. Or question 4. Do you worry about being hit by ransomware or a hacking breach? Everybody should be worried, yes. It's applicable to everybody, again, whether it's a context in a personal capacity or a professional capacity. Being security conscious is something that we all need to adopt. And again, just in terms of what Nettprotect offers in that context, Nettprotect is your bread and butter, essentially. It is a good place, it is the best place to start.
Excellent, great. Thank you very much, Calvin. Thanks for all the information. So everybody, 30 minutes is not a very long time to really go through our offering. As I mentioned before, please feel free to reach out to myself or Calvin for any other information. So we've come to the part of the webinar where I'll be asking the question for the speaker. So I hope you guys paid attention in the presentation. Here's the question here. Up to how many endpoints can Nettprotect scan? So we've made it a little bit easier for you guys. We've given you multiple choice. A is 1, B is 24, C is 256, and D is unlimited. If you could please answer the question in the chat box on the right-hand side, that'd be great. Thank you very much. To all who submitted the answers, the draw is going to be taking place just after the webinar, and the winner will be notified. Now that we've come to the end of the webinar, we're constantly showcasing our SecOps solutions. So please keep a lookout for the next invitation. I'd like to thank you for your participation today. And I look forward to meeting you when we chat around your requirements. I think there is, Calvin, I think there is another question here.
Yes. So I think the last one I saw was from Richard, asking what determines the parameters of an organization's vulnerability assessment. So easy answer is we would have to do first off like an initial kickoff and scoping discussion around what kind of requirements you have or what your end goals or objectives are in terms of what you want to achieve. But the gist of it, in terms of what defines the parameters, is I don't want to say we're almost limitless in that sense, but it's I might be getting a bit too passionate from a technical sense. My brain is starting to fire off in every direction. But essentially, what it is that because we don't necessarily conduct black box vulnerability assessments, so we're not going to go in blind all the time. So in terms of the definition of the parameters, all we would require is for you to say, here is my scope, here is one subnet, or here is an IP, internal, external, here is my web application, the DNS, URL, whatever it is. Go mad. And then, if we could have a technical kickoff, we can discuss what kind of compliance requirements, if any there might be, what type of templatized scanning from a vulnerability assessment perspective you would want to conduct, whether it's credentialed, uncredentialed, et cetera. So we have so Justin could elaborate in that sense or in a technical session in terms of scoping, and I would be happy to assist in that sense moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Calvin. I'm just checking the question section. Thank you very much for all the answers. to the prize giveaway. No other questions on the question box. So thank you very much for your attendance today. Have a great Friday further. Enjoy your weekend, and look forward to chatting with you in the near future. Have a great one, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for your time, everybody. And please feel free, if you have any other queries or questions, please feel free to contact either myself or Justin, and we will happily be in touch.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day further.